It's the 2023 NBA playoffs, and one man is rewriting history, Jimmy Butler. Or, as the basketball world calls him when the light burns brightest, Playoff Jimmy. The name isn't just a nickname, it's a warning, a transformation, a reminder that when the regular season ends and the games start to matter, Butler morphs into one of the most dangerous forces in basketball. And in 2023, he didn't just turn it on, he went nuclear. Butler dismantled the number 1 seeded Bucks, brushed aside the Knicks, and embarrassed the Boston Celtics, dragging the Miami Heat, an 8th seed, all the way to the NBA Finals. Along the way, he produced jaw-dropping stat lines, unforgettable clutch shots, and enough trash talk to fuel highlight reels for years. And even though Miami ultimately fell short of a championship, Jimmy Butler's 2023 playoff run instantly became the stuff of legend. An 8th seed reaching the finals, that's a story reserved for folklore. But this wasn't fiction, this was Playoff Jimmy. To really understand 2023, you have to understand Jimmy Butler's journey. Unlike most NBA superstars, Butler wasn't handed anything. He wasn't a top draft pick, he wasn't hyped coming out of college, he actually wasn't even supposed to make it into the league. Born in Houston, Texas, Butler had one of the toughest upbringings of any modern NBA player. Kicked out of his home at just 13, he bounced between friends' houses before eventually finding stability. That early hardship shaped his mentality. He developed an edge, a stubborn resilience, a refusal to quit no matter how bleak things looked. Drafted 30th overall by the Chicago Bulls in 2011, Butler wasn't expected to be more than a role player. But year after year, he outworked everyone. He developed into an elite defender, then a reliable scorer, and ultimately became a franchise cornerstone. By the mid-2010s, Butler was a 4-time All-Star with Chicago. But clashes with management and teammates pushed him out. He bounced to Minnesota, then Philadelphia, leaving behind drama but also glimpses of his playoff brilliance. The Sixers famously chose to keep Tobias Harris instead of Jimmy Butler in 2019. And that decision still fuels Jimmy's fire to this day. When he signed with Miami in 2019, many thought he was just cashing in. But Miami, with its culture of toughness and work ethic, was the perfect fit. The franchise believed in him, and he believed in them. Together, they were about to write one of the most unlikely playoff sagas in history. In Butler's very first season in Miami, the Heat finished as the 5th seed. A solid team, but not viewed as contenders. Then came the NBA bubble. In Orlando, Butler unleashed his first true taste of playoff Jimmy. Miami rolled through the Pacers in round 1, shocked the world by dismantling the top seeded Milwaukee Bucks in round 2, and then beat Boston in the conference finals. And nobody saw it coming. Butler had dragged an underdog Heat squad all the way to the finals. Against the Lakers, Butler had his signature moment. Game 3, no Bam Adebayo, no Goran Dragic. Miami was outgunned, but Jimmy put the team on his back, dropping a 40-point triple-double in one of the gutsiest performances in NBA Finals history. The iconic image of Butler leaning over the scorer's table, drenched in sweat, exhausted but unbroken, that was the birth of the playoff Jimmy legend. The Heat lost in 6, but a statement had been made. With Butler, you can never count Miami out. The following year, in 2021, Miami was swept in a humiliating first-round rematch against Milwaukee. Butler looked human. Critics said that the bubble run was a fluke. But in 2022, he reminded everybody who he was. Miami finished as the number 1 seed, stormed to the conference finals, and set up another war with Boston. That series became an instant classic. In Game 6 at TD Garden, facing elimination, Butler erupted for 47 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, and 4 steals. He was everywhere, hitting threes, attacking the rim, clamping down on defense. It was the kind of performance usually reserved for the all-time greats. Game 7 ended in heartbreak. Down 2 in closing seconds, Butler pulled up for a transition 3 to take the lead, and the shot was short. The Boston Celtics advanced, and Miami was crushed. But in the post-game interview, Jimmy promised, "We'll be back, we'll have enough, and we're going to get it done." Those words set the stage for 2023. The regular season, though, for 2023 was anything but smooth. Miami looked disjointed, finishing just 44-38. They lacked consistency, and Butler often coasted through stretches, saving his energy. When the Heat dropped their first play-in game to Atlanta, fans began to panic. Their season came down to one last chance, a do-or-die matchup with the Chicago Bulls. For Jimmy, it was personal. Chicago was the team that drafted him, the city where he became a star, but also the franchise that moved on from him. In the fourth quarter, Butler delivered. He scored 13 points in the final frame, finishing with 31 and carrying Miami into the playoffs as the last seed in the East. It wasn't pretty, but they were in. Their reward? A first-round matchup against the 58-win Milwaukee Bucks, led by two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, the NBA's best team. And on paper, Miami had no shot. But Jimmy Butler doesn't read the paper. Game 1 in Milwaukee was the first warning. Butler came out firing, scoring 35 points and dishing 11 assists in a stunning road win. Miami had stolen home court. The Bucks bounced back in Game 2, but when the series shifted to Miami, Butler turned up the heat, no pun intended. In Game 3, he scored 30 to put Miami up 2-1. Then, Game 4, the defining moment of the series. Jimmy Butler erupted for 56 points. The fourth most in NBA playoff history. He destroyed Milwaukee's defense, scoring at will, hitting threes, bullying defenders, and jawing at anybody who tried to stop him. Even Drew Holiday, who was one of the best defenders in the league and had no answers. Butler dropped 21 points in fourth quarter alone. The Heat stunned Milwaukee again, taking a 3-1 lead. Game 5 was the knockout punch. Butler scored 42, capped by a miraculous game-tying alley-oop with a half a second left to force overtime. In the extra period, he buried Milwaukee for good. The Heat had done the unthinkable, an ace seed eliminating the league's top seed. Butler averaged nearly 38 points in that series, and it was one of the most dominant first-round performances in NBA history. And the legend of playoff Jimmy was growing. Next up, the New York Knicks. Madison Square Garden was buzzing, hoping for a return to glory, but Jimmy Butler had other plans. In Game 1, he scored 25, and Miami stole the opener. But late in the game, he sprained his ankle badly. This injury looked kind of serious. He missed Game 2, which New York won. When Butler returned to Game 3, he immediately seized control. Limp or not, he dropped 28 points, talking trash to Josh Hart and silencing the Garden crowd, and Miami rolled. By Game 6, Butler and the Heat finished the job at home, sending the Knicks packing. Once again, Jimmy had dragged Miami farther than anyone thought possible. Next, Boston. Again. For the third time in 4 years, Miami faced Boston with a final trip on the line. Game 1 was all Jimmy, 35 points, and sealed the win with a clutch jumper, almost identical to the one he had missed a year earlier. Redemption complete. Game 2 gave us one of the funniest playoff moments in years. Grant Williams hit a big shot, got in Butler's face, and started talking. That's a bad idea. Butler immediately scored 9 straight points on him, mocking him the entire time. Miami won again, going up 2-0. That moment was one of the things that I thought made it very possible that Butler could be Michael Jordan's long-lost child. Game 3 in Miami, a blowout. The Heat up 3-0. No team had ever come back from that deficit in NBA history. The Celtics tried. They won games 4 and 5 and then pulled off the miracle of all miracles in Game 6 when Derek White tipped in a buzzer beater to force Game 7. The Celtics had all the momentum, but in Game 7, Butler crushed their dreams. He scored 28, grabbed 7 boards, dished out 6 assists, and led Miami to a dominant 19-point road win. The Heat were back in the finals, and Butler was named Eastern Conference Finals MVP, hoisting the Larry Bird Trophy after keeping his promise from 2022. The Cinderella run reached its climax against Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Denver was deep, balanced, and laser-focused. Miami stole Game 2 on the road, but ultimately Denver was too much. They won the series in 5, claiming their first championship, and Butler looked drained, his ankle still lingering, but he never made any excuses. Now, even without the ring, Butler's 2023 playoffs run stands among the greatest of all time. 56 against Milwaukee, one of the greatest single-game performances ever. Eliminated a number 1 seed as an A seed, something done only a handful of times in NBA history, and back-to-back series of iconic trash talk and clutch moments, which is just pure movie behavior. And he drug an inconsistent, injury-prone roster to the finals, which is just straight up a feat of willpower. More than the numbers, it was the attitude. Butler embodies something rare: toughness, swagger, and defiance. He doesn't just play basketball, he imposes his will on the game. In 2023, Jimmy Butler wasn't just a player. Playoff Jimmy was an experience. And though Miami fell short, one thing became crystal clear. When the postseason begins, Jimmy Butler becomes a legend. And that's the story of Playoff Jimmy. If you enjoyed the video, like the video and subscribe. I'll see you guys next one. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.